welcome back to Giggle and Grow with Morgan
and Courtney, and we have a special guest today, Amity. Thank you so much for hopping on today.
Oh, thank you guys for having me. I'm really excited to be here. And It's cool that we're all in Colorado.
Yes, right? We are all in Colorado. It's so much fun. Well, love to kick it off with you telling us a little bit about yourself. I know you have a custom jewelry business. I know you have your own podcast. You do all the things, but love to just kick this off with you telling me a little bit about yourself and where you're at now.
Sure. I will try to make it short because there's a lot of history. Basically, many years ago, I was a courtroom attorney, a criminal defense attorney, and it sort of leads here because I couldn't wear, or it wasn't appropriate to wear the kind of stuff I like to wear, the jewelry I like to wear, like black makeup or skulls. I would wear my suit every day. It was fine, but I always felt like I would miss something. When I would wear my fun style, I would carry myself different. I just feel different. I don't know if you guys experience that when you love your outfit or, something you feel good in what you're wearing. So anyway, I credit that time for when I invented my first jewelry piece in my head, which was a ring that I could wear, but I knew it was vampire fangs, but you just wear it and nobody knows. I'm actually wearing it right now and it's just not obvious. So that was the first thing. I just kind of credit it to that time because I invented it in my head, what else could I do? Fast forward many, many years, 3 kids, all kinds of things, learning all about jewelry. And that's actually the first piece I made. And then, so for the last, since I launched on my own last October, I've been doing custom jewelry only. So basically learning people's stories and meanings or redesigning inherited pieces into something that they will wear. So it's not stuck in a drawer, or, making your engagement ring or wedding band something that has a lot of meaning behind it because you wear it every day for the rest of your life versus maybe having the same one as, hundreds of people from the big box store. And so that is what I've been doing. And in a few weeks, I don't know when this airs, but right now we're coming up on October. So in October, I am launching my first collection as well. I will always be doing custom, absolutely, because custom is the client's story, the client's style, the client's design, and the meaning for them. This collection is a collection inspired by the direction that my brand itself is going, the non-custom part, more Victorian, Gothic, celestial, sort of sparkly, vintage feel. So that will be launching in October. And that is the long and short of how I got here.
I love that. How many pieces are in this collection that you're going to be doing, and what kind of pieces are they?
Oh, that's a really good question. I have currently uploaded 50.
Wow.
I mean, there are more, but whether I get them up before October or it's sort of an ongoing process is really the question. So at least 50 are uploaded. So that's a great question. I've got bridal looks that are alternative rings, alternative styles. There are very few white stones. It's more of your alternative colored gemstones, black diamonds, lab sapphires, very colorful and very also Victorian, Gothic, vintage, but also pieces that are not just rings. So that's there is bridal pieces, there's necklaces, there's earrings. And then I'm also releasing a lower price point in sterling silver. And those items will be just available right away, in stock, versus the more higher end where if you're going to get a black diamond, or you want to switch it out for a sapphire or maybe rose gold or something, those will still be made to order. So not true custom. I was finding a lot of people do feel overwhelmed with true custom, from start to finish. Maybe I don't know where to start. I don't anything, which I get those clients, and it's fine because I know where to start and I know how to help. But, and I realize that they're not the ones that want to pick out each stone, hand pick it and stuff. So there are ones where we hand pick literally an ombre of colors of different stones together out of 100. There are ones that love to do all those pieces too. So for the ones that maybe find it overwhelming, but do still like that style, they can just order this one that they love, maybe just switch it out for, white gold or whatever metal they're looking for in their size. And then it's just made to order. So it's an easier process. And then anything in those, the golds and platinums will still be made to order, but the in-stock sterling silver pieces, and of course, that first piece I ever designed is still going to be part of it too. So
I love that.
A little bit of everything to try to make sure everybody can experience or not compromise their style if their style happens to match my brand.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you had this moment where you were designing your first ring and, you used to be in law, you practiced law and had your business there. When did you decide to really take that jump? I really am curious because that's what we really try to tell our listeners is, it's all about listening to yourself and growing and taking that jump. I mean, that's what we did with our podcast. We always wanted to do a podcast. We both wanted that and we were able to put it together and we made that jump, and I'm kind of curious if you can tell our listeners like when your jump was and what really sent you over the edge.
Yeah, for sure. I actually have more than one jump and more than one growth to go through. So that one specifically, I was in Los Angeles when I was an attorney. I lived in Los Angeles and I had my first child, literally just like kind of lost my mind that, our house was too small. It was fine. Our yard was too small. I didn't know our neighbors. The school systems were terrible. LA was, I just sort of lost everything. And she was only 3 months old when I flew out to Colorado to look at houses. And I literally just called my husband. I was like, turn in your notice. We're moving. And we closed on the house before she was even 6 months old.
Oh, that
in
is
Colorado.
incredible. What
So I'm sort of an all or nothing person. Like I have like 0 or like 10. There's no middle way. And so, at that time, or coming from that way, I know Colorado is expensive, but if you come from LA, you're going the right way. It's less, or you can get more for your money, right? So I got this dream house, wonderful school system in a lovely neighborhood with lots of kids, et cetera. But I never took the bar in Colorado. So that was easy enough to just be like, well, that's just not what I'm going to do with my life from now on, unless I decide to take the bar. So I stayed home with my oldest for the first 2.5 years. I also had twins in that middle time. And then, so that I had twins. So then after that, she was about 2.5 years old and my twins were about 6 months old or so, maybe 7. Anyway, it was time for me to go back to work. And in Colorado, I wasn't going to be an attorney. And before that, I had been in cosmetics and retail. I had been a bridal makeup artist, and in management. So I just sort of decided, okay, maybe I just go back to that. So I did just right away. That was an easy way to get in the door. And I started managing cosmetics departments at Nordstrom and Dillard's, all the cosmetics lines. And it was amazing. And it sort of moved up and got into regional operations in dental, but it's basically, it sounds weird, but it's still essentially retail and sales. So I did regional operations and I just did that for a long while. And in between all this time, since I was even the first time with an attorney, even when I was trying to get my engagement rings over 13 years ago and couldn't find the style I wanted, which is a whole nother reason. I'm like, there are people like me out there. Custom needs to be accessible. I had been learning about jewelry on the side. I'd been making connections. I'd been learning all of those things. It was just something I did for myself. And then sort of things took a turn with my children and my parents needed more help. I had to move them out here. And I just decided again that all or nothing. Okay, quitting corporate, quitting operations. Like I'm never home in time for bed. I'm not able for the flexibility that my kids need right now or my parents need. So I know how to run a business. I've done it many times. That's literally what I did. So it was time to go all in. And that's what I did. We're coming up on my year launch of when I launched on my own. Which is,
wow.
I know it all sounds crazy, but it's just sort of what my family or my needs are at that point in my life. And I know so many people stay in what they're doing because it's easy, but I have very specific things that I want to optimize for in my life, like flexibility, time with my family, monetary comfort. Like there's very specific things that are my goals. And when my job or something in my life was not fitting those goals, then it's time to change and figure out what would. And so that's really what started it. And I couldn't be happier with the way everything's going.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's amazing. Was there anything in particular that was maybe more of a struggle or maybe caused a setback during that time? I mean, you have so much goodness within there and all those goals really motivated you to keep pushing towards those. But was there any sort of setback that you did experience while switching from, law to corporate back to running your own business, etc.?
Yes, like
Yeah.
every day.
Yeah.
Huge. Yes. Absolutely. There's setbacks. Oh my goodness. Yes. Every entrepreneur. I mean, you absolutely have to have that mindset. Like you are doing this and it is going to work no matter what, because otherwise the setbacks are just going to throw you. But a big one happened at the end of last year. Parents became a lot more disabled to the fact where I was out flying out where they lived a whole bunch, like basically during the week and barely at home with my kids. And then I had to move them out here and make all these crazy arrangements. So that took a giant chunk out of it, sort of. And it was very soon after I had launched. So it was just a really difficult time. And that mindset, which I have always advised people on, is not like to yearn for what you thought your life was going to be, but go with your new life and make a new plan. Well, I felt really susceptible to it. Like, I was like, I don't have the time for this anymore. I don't have the time for that. And I was literally doing that. So my advice, I really had to sit down and be like, you know better. And just because these new things happen or setbacks or obstacles, right? My end goal was still the same, right? I just had to make a new path to get there and figure that out. So I could really just sort of let what I thought was going to be go. Because otherwise, man, I was just kind of mad and irritated all the time. So definitely those setbacks for sure. I mean, that was a real big one.
Yeah, I was gonna say too. You mentioned mindset and like an entrepreneur mindset. That's another thing that we talk about here a lot is how to keep a mindset of just, I was just talking about it before you even hopped on about how like sometimes I go through these phases where I'll have a mindset and it's really hard to get out of that negative mindset, but then you come out of it stronger. And so one of the things I'm curious about is just your mindset as an entrepreneur. And like, if you could tell somebody who's about to start being an entrepreneur, what would you say to them? What is the biggest thing in their, like, what should they do for their mindset, right? What are the practices maybe in their everyday life, or what should they tell themselves? Something small that they could take away from how their mindset should be if they're going to be an entrepreneur.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have very specific advice for this. Yes.
I love it. Let's hear it.
So, I mean, first and foremost, this is not the exact advice, but first and foremost, have that list. Like, why are you even doing this entrepreneurship? Like, is it because you want to make a lot of money, or is it because you want to be in control of your time? Is it because you don't want a boss? Like, whatever it is, you need to have what you're actually doing this for, like life-wise, in mind or written down like I do on the mirror, however it is that you do, so that every decision you make is, well, is this actually going to help my goals or not? So that's just where you have to start. The mindset thing is, a lot of people will go in and just be like, well, I'm doing my best and it's not working. And that is never, ever, ever going to be my advice. You can't do your best. That's going to do nothing. You have to do what is required. Okay. And a lot of people do not do what is required, or they skip the stuff that's harder, or they put off the stuff that's harder. Like the stuff that you're putting off, that's what's holding your business back right now. Like I can guarantee it. So it's really doing what is required. Like I can't emphasize that enough. And then the one part, like that is the mindset. And it's really like, you're doing this for these things. Like if you give up, you lose all these things, like whatever you're optimizing for, you're going to go back into whatever you have before, or you're not going to get these things. So you literally, it has to work. Your mindset is it's going to work no matter what. Not, we'll see if it works. We'll see how it goes. That's not it. And then the flip side of that is, being an entrepreneur can be lonely, right? And it can be like those setbacks and obstacles that we talked about, or imposter syndrome. I mean, gosh, all of those things. Or, something happened and you're just like, oh, why am I even doing this? Blah. You know what I'm talking about? So what I have that I find so helpful is a group of peers and then a group of mentors, and both sides. So not just the jewelry side, I also have it on business side. Like they may not even know jewelry, or they do too, but like both sides, because creatives, strong suit is not always business and numbers.
I agree.
I mean, it is. It can be. I actually happen to be a very numbers driven person. But it can be, but maybe not. So that's why on both sides. And it's great to have peers because, hey, oh my gosh, this happened to me. It was the worst. Someone's gonna be like, yeah, that happened to me too. This is what I did, right? I guarantee you what you're going through has happened. So that's really amazing. And then the mentors I use, I'm surrounding myself with people that are way better than I am, way further along than I am, and asking and following what they did instead of just sort of throwing spaghetti at the wall or just shooting things out there and hoping it works, right? I know how to run a business. I know how to run numbers. I was an attorney, though. It's not exactly the same. And then launching a collection is not just like, hey, I like this and I like this and I like this and throwing it out there. It's not that. So, but that could be very much what I did if I didn't have all these people that were so much smarter than me that I surround myself for advice and help and instruction. And a lot of people are threatened by people that are smarter than them or whatever. And that you will never get anywhere. There's no way you know everything. Yeah. Sorry, I apparently have a lot of advice. There's no way you know everything. So like you're only going to do better when you surround yourself with people that are better. If you surround yourself with people that aren't where you're at, that's also a good thing though, because when you're teaching and mentoring, that's how you know that you really know what you're learning, but that's not going to get you to that next level.
Yeah. How did you find these mentors? What was, you know what I mean? Like, because for me, someone like me, if I want to start my own business, I wouldn't even know where to start to find a mentor or anything. So I'm curious, where'd you find these people?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a couple different options. Some of it is by chance and some of it are literal groups for those things. So, for example, we've got like Meetup and Facebook groups and things. Thank goodness this day and age, right? We've got a lot of online, or you'll see, like, at least for me, these are not what I do because my jewelry business is very different. But for someone, there is a version where there are some jewelry groups out there like Grow Your Business or Learn How to Do This. Like there are those groups where people sign up and they go through the course and things like that. And those are for certain business models. I just have a different business model than those ones cater to. Could be fantastic, especially if they're just starting out. So those could be fantastic for the jewelry side, or just not necessarily jewelry, but you find those I see them all the time. Like I'm trying to learn how to do my Pinterest. Well, guess what? Megan Williamson or all these people, all of a sudden I'm getting these advertisements like grow your Pinterest, learn how the algorithm works, like blah, 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 like courses, right? So that's what I mean by finding yourself a peer group first, because there will be other people in that group and you guys can like feed off each other and things. I also meet a lot of peers at events, like networking events, bridal shoots, wedding shows, things like that. I'll meet a bunch of other vendors. Well, they're, may not be jewelry, but it's still, in that instance, wedding industry, people that are getting married, connections, etc. And then as far as on the business side, business groups on Facebook. I'm part of a lot of them. And my favorite one, actually, the one that I have found most valuable, there've been a lot that's great, but the one I found most valuable, I actually ended up finding through sort of a technology group, like trying to keep up on rising technology and not falling behind. A big example of this is AI. And I'm not saying AI to make fake things. I'm talking about like AI for, a live chat, or AI to help, write copy, or AI, whatever it may be. That's my example, because that's fine if you don't want to use it, but somebody else is going to in your same industry. I mean, it's not going away, right? It's like, revolutionary, things like that. So, or the next software or whatever can be developed. So there's sort of a big disparity in between jewelers that do what I do, and then the generational jewelers that have been around for a long time, that have counted on the natural mined diamond, that have the glass cases in the studio, not jumping on board with all the technology that's out there. I'm not just talking about AI. There's a lot AI has facilitating a lot of things to grow, and it is definitely affecting the jewelry industry as well, right? So I just wanted to, so that's how I actually found the mentor, or the people that I find the most helpful in my growth period right now, because expansion is hard, especially if you're not set up right. You can expand too fast, or you can expand and it kind of be like a hot mess behind the scenes, and then you get stuck, things like that. So for my expansion, I met these mentors that I'm using in a technology group, so who knows where you might find them, but just sort of keeping your eye out for people, or just listening to things in your groups. I was just like, man, that's smart. Ooh, and then just sort of connecting from there. So that's how I found them.
Yeah, that's great. Morgan, actually, you could probably speak to it a little bit. You're working on your Pinterest for your business.
I actually am. And it was from a peer. One of my friends, she just actually started her own business as well. And she kind of hopped onto Pinterest sooner than I did, which is so smart. But she sent me some information to start my Pinterest course. So I'm very new to the game as well. But it is really about connections and who you know, because I truly had no idea. I've had Pinterest for probably 6-7 months now, and I think I just hit like 6K views. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. So it's just about reaching out and finding those people that can help support you and get you to where you want to be. So no, that's really cool. And I think we got to use Facebook groups a little bit more than we do, honestly.
It's
I've heard
crazy
such
how
good things
valuable
about them. Yeah. Have you heard of the podcast, Amity, Fun on Weekdays? Have you heard of that?
Oh.
No. Okay. So I only know her from a girl that went through to my high school, and then she met this girl who started this Fun on Weekdays through college. So never met her myself, but she started this huge podcast called Fun on Weekdays. And what actually blew her up in her business was having a Facebook group. And she has, thousands and thousands and thousands of people that are now connecting all over the world. She doesn't even have to be in an event for an event to be happening out in Texas, from Colorado to California. It's just so cool how people can just link up in that way and then really build a business or a friendship or whatever it is out of that. So no, that's very cool.
I love that. And you're way ahead of me on Pinterest, by the way. Like, I've got like 5 pins. No, okay, I've got more, but like, you're way ahead of me on that. After the launch, I'll double down on that. But Facebook groups, like, I've heard that even from my mentors and stuff too. Just right now, I'm so busy, I haven't gotten around to it. And even then, like, I need to figure out, like, what would my Facebook group even entail? That's not, you know what I mean? So what does hers entail? Like, what is the podcast Facebook group?
Yeah, so a lot of where she began was after college. Some of us like to party, have a good time, maybe a little too much. And so she wanted more of the idea of having fun to happen from Monday through Sunday. Not that you end your day after work on a Friday and decide, okay, now it's time for me to go enjoy a couple of drinks or go out for an outing with friends. She's like, we should be doing that every day. So she has now created just a bunch of different groups where they either go for walks in the morning. She does different Pilates all over the world. She does events such as just drinks and pictures and all the things, and just all these different ideas that just truly get girls together. She now talks about a lot how people will go without even knowing people. And hundreds of these people go and just to meet people. So it's just really cool. One idea can just make a difference for so many people's lives. So
that is awesome. That is awesome. I've done that as well. I guess I just didn't think about that. Even right now in one of my jewelry groups, like when it's like, how I talked about you have to do those things that are required, and the things you're not really wanting to do are the things that's holding your business back. Well, when we have to do some of those, we literally just jump on a video chat. We're like not even talking, but we're like making sure the other one is doing that work right there, right? Like, it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
It's a little different from having fun, but it's still, it helps having those people and connections.
Holding yourself accountable is huge when you're trying to run a business or even just like get something done. What I found is like a lot of what you were talking about is manifesting, putting it on your mirror, right? Writing it out. What I've found is like a lot of what that is holding yourself accountable. And when you can hold yourself accountable for certain things, like you end up following through, and it not only develops the sense of confidence, it also develops like a habitual like way of doing things. Like when I set a goal and I tell myself I'm going to do something, I'm actually going to do it, because what happens is when you do that, you grow that confidence, and you can believe that when I tell myself I'm going to do something, you can believe it's going to happen. Right. And I think that's a big piece of it. But I know we've been talking about Fun on Weekdays podcast, but I know you also have a podcast.
Oh, yeah.
I know we're 25 minutes in, but I'd love to hear a little bit more about your podcast and your theme and everything.
Yes, sorry. Yes, I forgot to mention it. I just went straight to the jewelry because my head is just there with the launch coming. But yes, I have a weekly podcast called The Gothic Heart. I think we're on episode 23. I don't know. We're around there somewhere. It's a passion project that I did. It is not about jewelry because, well, I mean, it could have been cool about jewelry, but it's more just about self-expression and authenticity and being yourself, and sort of, I have always been like this, and I went to high school and then been like this, had like alternative interests and style. And I went to high school in the 90s. Things were not as accepted as they are now. I mean, we did have our grunge and stuff, so that was cool. But in any case, it wasn't, accepted at all. If I was interested in, the black makeup or Hot Topic was a big thing back then. Things like that. So that's how it always was. It took me until, and even just in relationships, just whatever, it took me until I was 28 is when I remember I had, friends had been telling me, this is how you come across, this is this. And I thought about it and I was like, wait a minute, I don't actually care because I like myself. And that was a huge turning point. And that's when I went back to my now husband. And then we ended up getting married and the whole thing, because we'd known each other since we were 19. But I was like, wait a minute. I actually like myself. And it took me till 28. And then it actually took me until 41 to do it in business. Even launching this business, I launched it as very, very bridal, which of course custom jewelry isn't. I love doing bridal, but it was very much like the traditional bridal. I can do everything for everyone, trying to reach everyone. And until I started the Gothic Heart, which was my passion project to have my side business brand and personality, did I realize, wait a minute, I can do this with my brand too. Who cares if somebody doesn't like that style or doesn't want to work with me? No problem. They're not my client. And there are other jewelers in the world. They'll still get help, right? It took me all that time. So this podcast is to be like, get people there faster. Like nobody wants to wait till they're 41 to feel comfortable with their style and personality in business, and until they're 28 to feel like comfortable with themselves, depending on how they grew up. People telling you, oh, it's a phase, or giving you scoffs. It's not a phase. Like, I'm still into it now. So the Gothic Heart is basically to show people that they can and what they can do. So a lot of my stories and my Halloween wedding, but most importantly, we bring on guests that have been through it. And just even like we've had alternative therapies, like for people that are struggling and traditional therapy isn't working. We've had like timeline transformations, ancestral veneration, energy alchemy, like so many really interesting people have come on and explained different ways of healing or working through things. We've had ghost hunters. We've had people that make horror themed jewelry as well, a different kind. It's polymer clay jewelry. I can't even think of all the amazing, dark romance authors that do the supernatural authors. Just really fun. I had an actor on the other day. He's a swordsman that did like the Star Wars lightsaber scenes and Jurassic Park and stuff. And he's very into the goth scene, like just really fun stuff. And then not just goth, it's alternative too. I had a tabletop role play gamer come on and to show, because his business, he's always been into tabletop role-playing games like Dungeons and Dragons and things, for those who don't know, his whole life. And it is literally a huge business that he runs online to help people do it, and plays games online and all these things, and just show people like, just because you have an alternative interest does not mean A, you have to conform, B, you have to compromise. You can make a career out of these things. I've had witches on that have made a career. I can't even go on more about it. To show people the possibilities that are out there, and mainly so they're not still trying to figure it out as long as it took me.
Yeah,
That
no,
is
that's
so
awesome.
inspiring. Yeah, that is so inspiring there, Amity. I mean, you mentioned so many cool guests that you had on there. Was there one that was maybe the most memorable to you, or one that stuck with you, or maybe a quote or a topic you had a discussion with someone that really just maybe changed you for a better person, or just what would you like to share about one of those episodes?
Well, my favorite episode is going to be me being partial, because I had my planners from my Halloween wedding 13 years ago come back and talk about, like, because 13 years ago, I mean, even now it's easier to find vendors and things for that kind of style wedding, but it was much harder back then, and just how they really saw my vision and did it, and just like kind of just reminiscing about like the crazy stuff that planners go through and how they can help. So I just really enjoy that episode, just because it's fun to show or to explain how it was done, or how creative you can be. But that wasn't anything. Yes, it transformed my life. I got married,
Yeah.
but nothing that transformed me currently. I did just, oh man, they're all so good. I don't think I can pick a favorite, but what was really good is I did have an episode with Soph Stafford, Energy Alchemy, and you guys can listen to it. It's really amazing. She taps into your Akashic records and speaks with your higher self, and it's really cool. And so far, she is the first one that I actually used her services of the people that I've had on. I mean, I want to use like all of them because they all do amazing things, but so far that's the first one I've did, and I had a great experience with her. So I could say that one, having her on, did, yes, in fact, change me and my experience. Yeah.
That's really cool.
What, one more time, the name of the Gothic Heart?
The Gothic Heart is my podcast. Yes. You can find it anywhere on streaming, The Gothic Heart, or on my website, which is amityalexandra.com. I know that's hard. We'll post it somewhere.
That's okay. But
you can find it there.
I mean, we're kind of coming up on time, but I appreciate you hopping on with us and just chatting and telling us about your experience. And The Gothic Heart is your podcast. Go check it out, to our listeners, because I think you'll definitely enjoy it. Morgan, do you have anything you want to send us off with?
I just want to say, Amity, your business, your jewelry, your passions, your love for what you do, it's truly inspiring. Keep being you. You're going to change a lot of lives because of that. I mean, I look back on my wedding experience, or even my ring and jewelry. I did not go ring shopping. I was kind of terrified of it. I was like, what if I can't find exactly what I'm looking for? And truly, my husband, he knocked out of the ballpark. He knows way more about rings than I even do now. Like I could even tell you hardly what kind of ring I have. I'm just like, it's gorgeous. He did great. So you really do get to change the lives of those brides walking through those shoes. We all need that special person to do that with for such a special time in our lives. Right. I'm sure Courtney could probably say the same, as she's walking through that right now herself and planning a wedding and all the stuff there. So like I said, just keep being you, share all of your ideas, your thoughts with the world, and it's going to shine. It's going to go far.
One last question. I want to know, what color was your wedding dress? Because did you have a black wedding dress?
Well, I'll be really fast with the answer. The UK, even now, but back then, has more of that alternative sort of style than we have here. So I actually ordered my dress for the UK, and it did not come. It had spider web patterned rhinestone overlay over the dress. It was still going to be white because everybody was wearing costumes, and I was dressed as the bride. And my husband, actually, we made his vest out of black fabric with sparkly glitter skulls all over it, and his tie too, and he actually still wears it to events to this day. But so I ended up renting my dress from a rental place up in LA like 2 days before the wedding. It was beautiful. I loved it, but it was very poofy white Cinderella. If I could go back in time, or if I could do it nowadays where there's a lot more options, I would 100% do some sort of ombre with black involved. 100%.
I love that. I could see you in that, but it sounds like your wedding was a dream. So, but thank you so much, Amity. I appreciate you hopping on and hanging out with us, and we'll kick it off there and finish it off. Bye, guys.
Thanks for having me.
Yay.